Hey guys, it's me, Stacy. So I'm going to be reading from this book, Healing the Child Within, by Charles L. Whitefield, MD, okay? I made 2 other videos, but it was on the intro and stuff like that, and the background, and I found maybe you guys wouldn't be as interested in watching it, and I probably won't watch it as, like, even though it has good information on it, you know, it's gonna be described more in the book anyway. So, chapter 3, I'm starting off with what is the child within? No matter how distant, evasive, or even alien it may seem to be, we each have a child within, the part of us that is ultimately alive, energetic, creative, and fulfilled. This is our real self, who we truly are. Horney, Masterin, and others call it their real self. Some psychotherapists, including Winnicott and Miller, call it the true self. Some clinicians and educators out of alcoholism and family fields call it the inner child. With the help of our parents, other authority figures, and institutions, most of us learn to stifle or deny our child within. When this is the vital part of each of us not nurtured and allow freedom of expression, a false or codependent self emerges. I further describe these 2 parts in the next table. That's on the other page. Our child within, or real self. In this book, I use the following terms interchangeably: real self, true self, child within, divine child, higher self, deeper self. One description: it's who we are when we are most authentic, genuine, or spirited. Our real self is spontaneous, expansive, loving, giving, and communicating. Our true self accepts others and ourselves. It feels, whether the feelings may be joyful or painful, and it expresses those feelings. Our real self accepts our feelings without judgment and fear and allows them to exist as a valid way of assessing and appreciating life's events. So there's a table here. These are characteristics, the difference between real self and false self. So the real self is authentic self, true self, genuine, spontaneous, expansive, loving, giving, communicating, accepting of self and others, compassionate, loves unconditionally, feels feelings, including appropriate, spontaneous, current anger. Assertive, intuitive, child within, inner child, ability to be childlike, needs to play and have fun, vulnerable, powerful in true sense, trusting, enjoys being nurtured, surrenders, self-indulgent, open to the unconscious, remembers our oneness, free to grow, private self. Okay, the false self is our unauthentic self. It's a mask. Codependent self, persona, ungenuine, as if personality, plans and plods, contracting, fearful, withholding, envious, critical, idealized, perfectionist, other-oriented, over-conforming, loves conditionally, denies or hides feelings, including anger, resentment, aggressive and or passive, rational, logical, overdeveloped, parent-adult scripts, maybe childish, avoids play and fun, pretends always being strong, limits power, distrusting, avoids being nurtured, controls, withdraws, self-righteous, blocks unconscious material, forgets our oneness, feels separate, tends to act out unconscious, often painful patterns repeatedly, public self. Our child within is expressive, assertive, and creative. It can be childlike in the highest, most mature, and evolved sense of the word. It needs to play and have fun. And yet it is vulnerable, perhaps because it is so open and trusting. It surrenders to itself, to others, and ultimately to the universe. And yet it is powerful in the true sense of power. It is healthily self-indulgent, taking pleasure in receiving and in being nurtured. It also is open to the vast and mysterious part of us that we call our unconscious. It pays attention to the messages. Sorry about that. Oh yeah. I think that should be good. It pays attention to the messages that we receive daily from the unconscious, such as dreams, struggles, and illness. By being real, it is free to grow, and while our false self forgets, our real self remembers our oneness with others and with the universe. Yet for most of us, our real self is also our private self. Who knows why we choose not to share? Perhaps it is fear of being hurt or being rejected. Some have estimated that we show our true self to others on average for only about 15 minutes each day. For whatever reasons, we tend to keep that part of us private. When we come from, or when we are our true self, we feel alive. We may feel pain in the form of hurt, sadness, guilt, or anger, but we nonetheless feel alive. Or we may feel joy in the form of contentment, happiness, inspiration, or even ecstasy. Overall, we tend to feel current, complete, finished, appropriate, real, whole, and sane. Our child within flows naturally from the time we are born to the time we die, and during all of our times and transitions in between. We don't have to do anything to be our true self. It just is. If we simply let it be, it will express itself with no particular effort on our part. Indeed, any effort is usually in denying our awareness and expression of it. Our false self. By contrast, another part of us generally feels uncomfortable, strained, or unauthentic. I use the following terms interchangeably: false self, codependent self, unauthentic, or public self. Our false self is a cover-up. It is inhibited, contracting, and fearful. It is egocentric, ego and superego, forever planning and plotting, continuously selfish and withholding. It is envious, critical, idealized, blaming, shaming, and perfectionistic. Alienated from the true self, our false self is other-oriented. It focuses on what it thinks others want it to be. It is over-conforming. It gives its love only conditionally. It covers up, hides, or denies feelings. Even so, it may make up false feelings, as it often does when we continuously answer a "how are you?" with perfectionary "I'm just fine." This quick response is often necessary or helpful to defend against frightening awareness of the false self, which either doesn't know how it feels or does know and has censored these feelings as wrong or bad. Rather than being appropriately assertive for the real self, it is either inappropriately aggressive and or passive. Our false self tends to be critical parents. Should we use transactional analysis script terminology? It avoids playing and having fun. It pretends to be strong or even powerful, yet its power is only minimal or non-existent, and it is in reality usually fearful, distrusting, and destructive. Because our false self needs to withdraw and be in control, it sacrifices nurturing or being nurtured. It cannot surrender. It is self-righteous and attempts to block information coming from the unconscious. Even so, it tends to repeatedly act out our unconscious, often painful patterns. Because it forgets our oneness, it's separate. It is our public self, who we think others and eventually even who we think we should be. Most of the time when we are in the role of our false self, we feel uncomfortable, numb, empty, or contrived or contracted state. We do not feel real, complete, whole, or sane. At one level or another, we sense that something is wrong and that something is missing. Sorry, this is kind of on an angle. I didn't realize. I still want it to fall again. Paradoxically, we often feel like this false self is our natural state, the way we should be. This could be our addiction or attachment to being that way. We become so accustomed to being our false self that our real self feels guilty, like something is wrong, that we shouldn't feel real or alive. To consider changing this problem is frightening. This false or codependent self appears to be universal among humans. It has been described or referred to countless times in print in our daily lives. It has been such called diverse names as survival tool, psychopathology, the egocentric ego, and impaired or defensive self. It can be destructive to self, others, and intimate relationships. However, it is double-edged sword. It has some uses, but just how useful is it? And under what circumstances? The following poem by Charles C. Finn describes many of our struggles with our false self. Okay, this is the poem. Please hear what I'm not saying. It's called, "Don't be fooled by me. Don't be fooled by the face I wear. For the mask I wear, 1,000 masks, Masks that I'm afraid to take off, and none of them is me. Pretending is an art that's second nature with me. But don't be fooled. For God's sake, don't be fooled. I give you the impression that I'm secure, that all is sunny and unruffled with me, within all as well as without. That confidence is my name and coolness is my game. That the water's calm and I'm in command, and that I need no one. But don't believe me. My surface may seem smooth, but my surface is a mask, ever varying and ever concealing. Beneath lies no compliance. Beneath lies confusion and fear and aloneness. But I hide this. I don't want anyone to know it. I panic at the thought of my weakness and fear being exposed. That's why I frantically create a mask to hide behind, a nonchalant, sophisticated facade, to help me pretend, to shield me from the glance that knows. But such a glance is precisely my salvation, my only hope, and I know it. That is, if it's followed by acceptance, it's followed by love. It's the only thing that can liberate me from myself. It's my only self-built prison walls from the barriers I so painstakingly erect. It's the only thing that will assure me of what I can assure myself, that I'm really worth something. But I won't tell you this. I don't dare. I'm afraid to. I'm afraid your glance will not be followed by acceptance, will not be followed by love. I'm afraid you'll think less of me, that you'll laugh, and your laugh could kill me. I'm afraid that deep down I'm nothing, and I'm just no good, and that you will see this and reject me. So I play my game, my desperate pretending game, with a facade of assurance without a trembling child within. So begins the glittering but empty parade of masks, and my life becomes a front. I idly chatter to you in the suave tones of surface talk. I tell you everything that's really nothing, and nothing of what's everything, of what's crying within me. So when I'm through my routine, please do not be fooled by what I'm saying. Please listen carefully and try to hear what I'm not saying, what I'd like to be able to say, for what survival I need to say, but what I can't say. I don't like to hide. I don't like to play superficial, phony games. I want to stop playing them. I want to be genuine and some spontaneous and me, but you've got to help me. You've got to hold out your hand, even when the last thing I seem to want. Only you can wipe away my eyes and blank stare of breathing dead. Only you can call me into aliveness. Each time you're kind and gentle and encouraging. Each time you try to understand because you really care, my heart begins to grow wings. Very small wings, but freeable wings, but wings. With your power to touch me into feeling, you can breathe life into me. I want you to know that. I want you to know how important you are to me, how you can be a creator, an honest-to-God creator of the person that is me if you choose to. You alone can break down the wall behind which I tremble. You alone can remove my mask. You alone can release me from my shadow world of panic and uncertainty, from my lonely prison if you choose to. Please choose to. Do not pass me by. It will not be easy for you. A long conviction of worthlessness builds strong walls. The nearer you approach me, the blinder I may strike back. It's irrational, but despite what the book says about a man, often I'm irrational. I fight against the very thing that I cry out for. But I am told that love is stronger than strong walls, and in this lies my hope. Please try to beat down those walls with firm hands, but gentle hands, for a child is very sensitive. Who am I, you may wonder? I am someone you know very well, for I am every man you meet, and I am every woman you meet. That's deep, eh? Chapter 4 is Stifling the Child Within, which I'll be reading next. Okay. Have a great day. Hope you enjoy.